Hello YouTube. Of the many creatures across Tamriel and the Daedric Plains, there are few as strange and interesting as the eternal rivaling factions of the Dark Seducers and the Golden Saints, servants of the mad god Sheogorath. Now, I already made a video on the Golden Saints a few months ago, so watch that if you want to know more about them, but now it's the turn of the Dark Seducers. So, the Dark Seducers, or Masken as they call themselves, they are Daedric servants of the Daedric prince Sheogorath, the Prince of Madness. They make up the other half of his army of servants, with the first half of his army being the Golden Saints, or Auriels, who are the internal rivals of the Dark Seducers. Now, I already made a video on the Golden Saints, so if you want to know more about them, you should click on the link in the description. But as you'll see, the Dark Seducers are almost the polar opposites of the Golden Saints in quite a few areas, although there are some striking similarities between the two races, as you'll see. For starters, while the Golden Saints are designed to be these angelic-looking creatures, the Dark Seducers look far more demonic in their appearance, with a dark purplish skin tone and unnaturally light eyes. However, just like how the Golden Saints are nothing like their appearance personality-wise, as those benevolent-looking creatures are extremely arrogant and cruel when dealing with mortals, the Dark Seducers are actually quite gentle and far more patient with mortals than their golden-skinned counterparts. Although they do see themselves as superior to mortals and they do not enjoy being subservient to a mortal, and when angered they are absolutely not above killing mortals. And you really don't want to anger them, as when they do get angry and want to elicit pain, they tend to do it slowly and painfully, unlike the Golden Saints, which simply kill mortals quickly and efficiently, considering them not really worth their time. Now, physically, the Dark Seducers are far stronger than your average mortal, and their armor and equipment is being rated as extremely sturdy and far above the quality of mortal weaponry and armor. And as you've probably noticed, their armor doesn't really cover all that much. Just like the lore on the armor, because according to the lore that we have, the reason for this armor being so lightly armored, let's say it that way, is so that they can use their speed and nimbleness in combat and they aren't overburdened by heavy armor that will slow them down in their movement, while still being protected in some crucial areas. Why you would then leave your stomach exposed is beyond me, but I suppose it's not my job to question decisions made by Bethesda designers in the 90s. That having been said, just like the Golden Saints, they live in a heavily militaristic and rigid society, where one's rank determines how much respect you get, and with the male Dark Seducers not being able to get any of the important ranks, as males in their society, just like with the Golden Saints, are seen as inferior and weaker, which they are, by the way, looking at their stats. This is why men in their society, which is based on strength and prowess, are looked down upon for their weakness and bad judgment, and therefore have very little to say in Dark Seducer society, and are usually just used as cannon fodder in their many wars against the Golden Saints. Because while each of the two races has been assigned to guard one half of Sheogorath's realm of the Shivering Isles, with the Golden Saints guarding the northern half called Mania and the Dark Seducers guarding the southern half called Dementia, both races continually compete against each other for Sheogorath's favor, trying to prove the other side's inferiority to the Mad God so that they become their favorites. This means that for eons they have basically been locked into conflict, often fighting lengthy battles, sometimes for centuries against one another. But despite his eccentricities, it seems that Sheogorath is not really in the business of picking favorites, as both of the races have had their own unique strengths and weaknesses, which he can then use to have them carry out his business on Tamriel and the other planes of existence. For example, a power that the Dark Seducers have is that of disguise. They can magically disguise themselves as any of the mortal races, usually picking a specific attractive disguise in order to seduce mortals and lure them into a trap. That tactic, along with their quite honestly revealing appearance in their normal form, led mortals to give them the name Dark Seducers. As I said in the beginning, they don't call themselves Dark Seducers. They call themselves the Masken instead of Dark Seducers, so it's basically a name that mortals gave to them based on their tactics and their appearance. Now, while the Golden Saints are basically just soldiers in most respect, the power of transformation and seduction that the Dark Seducers have is quite useful, and that's not just something that Sheogorath has seen, as multiple Daedric princes have their own variants of Dark Seducers. One lore explanation that's been given to us is that because the Dark Seducers are a little less proud and a little less blindly loyal to Sheogorath, there are actually quite a few so-called clanless Dark Seducers. These are Masken that aren't loyal to Sheogorath, and some of these then get scooped up by other Daedric princes like Mehrunes Dagon, who strip them of their independence and then make servants out of them, likely by changing their true names. Now, if that sounds vague, in short, every Daedric creature has a true name, which is made up of a set of words called mimics, which describe everything about a Daedric creature, from their personality to body shape to powers to allegiance. This true name, or set of mimics, functions almost like a genetic code along which Daedra can be reformed in Oblivion after they've been slain. But these mimics can also be changed, in order to forcibly change their allegiance, powers, or body shape, for example. This is likely also the explanation why the Dark Seducers employed by Mehrunes Dagon have demonic wings and are far more cruel than their counterparts in the Shivering Isles, because their true names have been changed by the Prince of Destruction. Now, that whole mimic or true name business is quite complicated, which is why I dedicated a full video on it, so watch that if you want to learn more about the true nature of Daedra. But for now, all you truly need to know is that this set of mimics almost functions like that genetic code that I mentioned, which can be used to reform or bring back a slain Dark Seducer. This happens in the Shivering Isles at the Wellspring of the Masken, a place where the slain are brought back exactly as they were upon death. Now, we can assume that those Dark Seducers who were changed to serve other Daedric princes do not return there, as likely their mimics have been changed in such a way that their place of rebirth has also been changed to a place in another Daedric prince's realm, which they then serve. But we don't really know that, unfortunately. Something else that we don't know is whether or not Sheogorath was even their true creator, because in-universe scholars on Tamriel, just like with the Golden Saints, have speculated that the Dark Seducers may not actually originally been born in the Shivering Isles, but just ended up there and then started serving Sheogorath for some undefined reason. Now, to me this seems pretty unlikely, as they seem to have just been created by Sheogorath together with the Shivering Isles and the Golden Saints, because as far as we are aware, his Dark Seducers, they are the original Dark Seducers, the one that serve Sheogorath. While those serving other Daedric princes are either those who have been changed or are copies made by other princes based on the mimics of those that they already changed. But that's just a piece of speculation on my part. And we don't even know what happens to the independent Masken, so the ones that don't serve any Daedric prince and have been scooped up by any of the other princes. Because, for example, we have unaligned Dark Seducers like Madame Wim in Fargrave in the Elder Scrolls Online. So yeah, we don't really know what happens to them when they are slain, but considering that none of their mimics have been changed, probably other than their allegiance to Sheogorath, it's pretty likely that they'll still get back to the Shivering Isles when they are slain, but that's just also speculation on my part. Anyway, that's basically all that I can tell you about the Dark Seducers, and I truly hope that you enjoyed this Elder Scrolls lore video, and if you did, maybe consider subscribing and returning for the next one next week, probably, if I have time. Now, all that remains for me to be done is to thank my top Patreon supporters: Mr. Bernardo Binna, Gabriel Binna, Polarized Poutine, Pavel T, Athena Iodis, Dragonborn of Nerevar, Volcure of Argonia, King Chris, Bulge, Scribe of the Scrolls, Doji, Fenrir, Sword of Bushido, Rakai, and Mr. Christmas. It's thanks to these people and all the others on screen that this channel stays alive and that I can make these videos, and for that I am very grateful. That said, I hope to see all of you in the next Elder Scrolls lore video, probably next week. Bye bye.